Hi everyone, I'm Akshit and today we have with us Saraswati, who has covered the government's plans to build the education registry, a digital education registry in depth. She works as a journalist with Media Nama, and today we'll speak to her and try to understand what this registry actually is and why it matters. Hi Saraswati. So my first question is a very basic question. What is Education Ecosystem Registry that you have covered?
Hi, Akshit. Thanks for the introduction. The National Education Technology Forum, which is like an autonomous body for all the key stakeholders in the education sector to, come together and discuss about how technology can be used in the education sector. They had published a consultation paper in March, proposing the idea for creating an education ecosystem registry. The fundamental idea of this project, or the main objective of this project, is to sort of digitize the education sector. And what the education registry aims to do is sort of create federated um, registries for student, teacher, and institution data. Currently this data is recorded and managed in different siloed databases which are not really connected to each other. And what the EER aims to do, or the education registry is looking forward to do, is sort of unify this existing disconnected infrastructure and offer greater visibility of this core data in the education sector to policymakers and administrators, who can then use this data for policy making, for identifying areas of intervention. And it is also expected to enable them to track student enrollment data and learners data and learning outcomes, and enable better access to educational facilities and government scholarships, benefits, etc. This is what the stated objective of the education registry project is. Now, the second thing is there are certain challenges that the consultation paper lists out with respect to current system, and says that the education registry will sort of address these problems and provide a solution for these. These are mostly challenges pertaining to procedural procedures with respect to how students go through operational hassles when they are enrolling into educational institutions. These include inconsistency in basic information. Basic information of students will be their name, date of birth, address, parents information, and other similar things. So inconsistency in basic information in their academic records throughout their academic journey is one of the things that the education registry will sort of address. Then the second thing is the obligation to submit physical documents whenever they are moving from one educational institution to another institution during their academic journey. This is sort of an expensive affair for many students, because then but once you have submitted your physical documents, original documents in one institution, it becomes difficult for you to enroll in other institutions. That sort of limits the students' opportunities. Then the other thing is repeated verification processes required for availing scholarships. That again is a cumbersome process for many students. And retrieval of lost documents is something that is again a big challenge, because then you have to deal with procedural delays and go back and forth the government offices or institutions to get your lost document back. So these are some of the challenges, and like one of the main challenges here that they are stating is the lack of visibility of data. Again, so once they have unified this, or like entire database of student, teacher, and institutions, they're saying that this will help administrators from assessing areas that need intervention, and to monitor the progress of certain government schemes or scholarships. So these are the challenges that the education registry will sort of aim to address. This is what the consultation paper has stated. So yeah, this is the whole idea behind the project.
So I understand what you're saying. It seems like there are a lot of challenges that exist in today's education system in how people operate. There are a lot of problems, and the government is trying to solve it. So everything seems like a good thing, right? Everything is a positive thing that this will help people solve a lot of challenges. Is it this? Is this how you see this? Because a lot of data will be collected, a lot of things will be digitized. So, are there any? Is there an opposite side to the bright and rosy picture that we are seeing of the education registry?
So yeah, there are some immediate challenges that we can, anticipate with respect to this education registry project when it will be implemented. The most immediate challenge would be, the lack of documentation or access to tech resources, and also access to digital literacy, because a lot of like the component or the part of this project depends on, submitting Aadhaar. First of all, that's how the consultation paper says that it will enroll applicants, whether it's students or teachers. Submitting Aadhaar is like the fundamental concept here. So and it's based entirely upon the entire architecture of this project is based upon connecting all these databases through the means of Aadhaar. And we are already seeing that the mandate of providing Aadhaar in schools for basic things like enrollment in educational institutions is already creating a problem in many schools across, in Maharashtra also, and in many other states also. So yeah, this is one of the challenge that's not being addressed in the paper yet, and it's already creating hurdles, and sort of many students are missing out on the opportunity to actually get themselves admitted to schools, and are losing out like a major part of their academic year. So this is a major concern with respect to when we talk about inclusion. They are using tech to enhance inclusion in the system, but when tech itself creates a problem or creates hurdles, it is leading to a lot of exclusionary concerns, which are sort of pushing out many students out of the formal education system. So exclusion is one of the things that needs to be deliberated upon when it comes to the education registry project as well. The other thing is with respect to accountability. When we will talk about the architecture of and the key components of this project, we'll talk about how the government is planning to onboard educational tech companies, like ed tech companies and skill providers, um, in a more formal way into the system. So there's a question of accountability with respect to data security also. Now, we don't really know in what capacity these edtech companies and other startups would be, brought on board into the system. But one of them is definitely providing e-content resources and also technical infrastructure, because, for example, we have seen in the case of Diksha portal, which is an e-content resource run by, like, it's a government platform. When last month, when the whole Diksha data security case came up, the case was about how student data from Diksha servers Diksha portal were exposed to unprotected servers. We had filed an RTI about this to the NCERT, and the NCERT said that Eight Step Foundation is sort of looking into the data security aspect of technical aspect of Diksha, but Ekstep in an Economic Times report said that they are not managing it, or they are not responsible for it. So there is this inconsistency as to who is responsible for what when you're tying up with private tech companies also. So this is just one aspect of accountability. I'm sure there would be other aspects also where we can, anticipate these kind of problems coming up. So this is another issue. Then the third and the main question that I would like to pose here is, does digitization in itself, or maintaining electronic records of every applicant or every candidate in the education system, does it in itself ensure inclusion? Because we are already seeing that in the scholarship disbursement process also, and with the RTE admission, right to education admission processes also, the process is already online, it's digitized already, but there are other actors in the system and other procedures which create a lot of problems on ground. And how the education registry system would sort of account for these systemic faults and procedural hurdles is something that the consultation paper does not address. And if it is not addressing that, then, like, how will this project ultimately serve the purpose of inclusion and better access to education is something that needs to be, checked upon or deliberated upon. This is a question that I would like to raise. I wanted to raise when I covered this story. So these are some of the broad challenges that we can see immediately happening with the use of tech without really addressing the fundamental problems that come with it.
Okay, thanks, Saraswati, for this illuminating answer. And I think the last question I would like to ask you is, we have not seen a lot of media coverage about this issue. My question to you is why this matters, because we have seen the government try to centralize a lot of databases, health stack, UPI, a lot of things are being centralized. So my question is why it actually matters that government is building another registry when it says that it's just for the benefit of people. Why it matters for the news media and people to know about it.
Yeah. Am I audible, Akshay? Wanted to
Yes.
check. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. So like to give a little bit of context, why we are speaking about this right now and why the timing of this project is important. It's because of the fact that we've seen how the government has been keen on digitizing the health and the education sector in the last couple of years. So like in the last year or so, we have seen how they've proposed the idea of creating registries for doctors, for healthcare workers, and other projects for digitizing all medical records, and that's how the national health stack has been shaping up. So in the context of India Stack conference also, there was not much spoken about the national edu stack. But when we are talking about this particular education registry project, we can say that a similar development, the thing that happened with the health sector, a similar development can be expected in the education sector as well. And with other frameworks and policies that sort of enable the digitization of education sector, which have come up in the past 2 3 years, we can say that education registry will sort of lay out the initial plan for implementing or digitizing the education sector. And for just wanted to state here, this is a personal opinion, maybe a ground level for creating an education surveillance project. So because this particular registry project actually talks about digitizing the core data of the education sector, that is the student data, teachers data, and institutions data, and unifying it with Aadhaar, or Aadhaar in terms of students and teachers registries, and GSTN and PAN in terms of education registries. So what they want is a unified access to 360-degree golden
Hmm.
record or data. These are the things that they've talked about in other policies or frameworks as well, like the India Enterprise Architecture. Then there's the National Digital Education Architecture, which came up in which was launched in 2021. That framework sort of laid out the blueprint for the education registry system. It laid out principles, guidelines, and specifications of how the education registry project would look like. So this was in works in the last 1 or 2 years, and now they are sort of implementing it. So the main idea is to digitize everything and have all the data, real time data or view into every stakeholder of the sector, and what are the rights to establish the rights of these
Hmm.
individuals who are a part of this project, and identify when they say policy making, this is what they mean. I mean, just by identifying, okay,
Hmm.
this person comes from this background, so whether they need this scholarship or not. But this can be really skewed, and we have talked about this in our previous discussion when we did the briefing call in education registry. People should go and check out that as well. So yeah, the fundamental idea is to digitize the sector, and I don't know why there was not much attention paid to this project, but yeah, we have seen reports coming up in the past 1 or 2 weeks where people have talked about, the gist of this project in different reports. The mainstream media has written reports on it. So yeah, the consultation is the feedback date is over now. It was May 5, and they are planning to start implementing it from August itself. So hopefully we will see more discussions on it in the mainstream space.
So just one more question before I let you go. You're talking about collection of data and that the project may come into being in the next couple of months. So does the consultation paper mention what kind of data will be collected, and will it be of students, teachers? What kind of data will actually be collected? Is there any mention about that in the paper?
Yeah. So when they're talking about creating registries for students and teachers, when a student has to enroll for the education registry, they have to submit their common minimal data fields, which is name, date of birth, and address, phone number, email, parent guardian information. And along with that, they have to submit their Aadhaar, which is the main document. So that's the kind of data that will be collected to get a student enrolled for the education registry. And they've
Okay.
already
And
started doing that. They've already started asking for teachers' Aadhaar to be updated on school records, by the way.
does it mention to your, from what you can recall, that this will be used to monitor attendance, or this will be used to monitor marks or performance of a person over a period of time? Is there any specific data like this in the paper?
So they do not really explicitly mention that they would track attendance, but they are definitely talking about tracking learner outcomes, which I guess is through, if I'm not wrong, since they've mentioned about EduLocker. EduLocker is a DigiLocker-like facility for students to upload their academic credentials, certifications, and all kinds of academic records, and they can, upload it, manage it throughout their lifetime, throughout their academic journey, and even after that when they are working. So there is a complete track record of how you're performing in school, and after that also where are you working. It might affect a lot of students' chances of getting into certain employment places or educational institutions after they've completed their schooling. So yeah, there is this process of tracking the learning outcomes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Saraswati, for your time. I think what we discussed about education registry will be useful for a lot of people, and I hope it gets more media coverage. So thank you for your time, Saraswati.
Thank you so much, Akshat. It was a really riveting discussion.